I want to use this video to talk about Autodesk Fusion 360 parameters and some of their uses. You'll find the parameters under Change Parameters underneath Modify on the toolbar. I have added mine to the upper toolbar. So let's start off with a sketch. And right off the bat, you cannot type in constraint or parameters like you can in Inventor. So if I try to type in a length equal 8 here, it will not take it. This has been added to the idea station of Fusion 360, and I hope they add it. So what you've got to do is put in the initial value, just normal. Now, when you're putting a second dimension in, you can borrow dimension. So if I pick that right there, if it'll take, and then I want to pick up on this dimension and make some reference to it, it will pick up the variable automatically. That's a nice thing. But I'm going to go ahead and replace that with just put in 6. Okay, so now I have my constraints. I'm going to go ahead and create the model, and I'm going to drag it out to 1 inch. So now let's go to the parameter table and notice a couple things. Of course, this is unsaved. We have model parameters being added to the sketch and to the extrusion. And notice the variable's been added automatically. Now, if you change these variables, let's say I want to put length in here, that's no problem. And this was the thickness. Now, if I go back and I want to add another feature on the front of this using those variables, I'm going to do a sketch. I'm going to draw another centered rectangle. And I'm going to type in length, and it should pick it up. But you'll notice it doesn't. This is because it must be exact. It has to be a capital. And I'll put divided by 2. Now notice it disappeared if I move my cursor. So when you're placing dimensions, you must keep your cursor very steady until you lock it down with a tab. So if I hit tab, it locks it down. It'll stay. Now I'll go to this one. I'll do width, again using my exact lettering, divided by 2. Again, don't move your cursor or it'll disappear. Hit tab to lock it and you're okay. So now notice the function symbol. If you're using a parameter in a function, it will put the FX just like in Inventor. I'm going to go ahead and create, pick this, and I'm going to go to the distance and I'm going to type in thickness. Again, match your case. I'm going to say divided by 2 again and say OK. Now let's talk about using favorites. If I hit the star beside the parameters, they become favorites. Once they're a favorite, then you can get them from in the sketch much quicker. Let me demonstrate. I'll put a new sketch on this, and again I'll do a centered rectangle. So now all I have to do is type the letter and it comes up. And by the way, it's any letter. A D will bring it up in width. But of course I want a T for length, and those all 3 came up. So again, I pick it and divide by 3. Again, keep your cursor very steady until you hit the tab to lock it. Now I pick the other one. I want to type W for width, select it, and divide by 3. Again, lock it or it'll disappear. Let's go ahead and create. Same thing, if I hit T, I get them all. Of course, I want thickness divided by 3. So once you have added them to your favorites, they become available to pick directly by any letter within them. Now let's talk about user parameters. You can assign any user parameter you want. I'm going to do circle diameter. And by the way, you can try to put a space. It will not take it. It just keeps on going. Or you can put a on the bar any other sign. Notice you have your units. You can pick anything you want, and they have quite a few. I'm going to leave it an inch. And I'm going to go ahead and put in there ½ inch. And say, okay, there's my user parameter. Now that becomes available just like the favorites. So if I put a sketch up here, and I put a circle, diameter, I'll put it in here somewhere. And now if I hit D, notice it picks that up, even though it's not the first letter, it still picks it up. Circle diameter again, hold your cursor steady and lock it down. So you can pick up parameters now the same way. I'll just go ahead and put a couple constraints in here. Whoops, didn't want that. Went a little further away. And go ahead and create it. I'm going to go all the way through. Have the cut. Now, one of the main uses of parameters is to be able to change things on the fly with other parameters. Say I wanted to change this to 15 millimeters. It's fine. It can mix units, no problem. It translates it into whatever units your model is in and will apply it automatically. Let's make that a little more variable so you can see it. Let's change up to 25.4 millimeters, which is 1 inch. And you see it gets bigger automatically. So the parameter table is mainly used for controlling your model through parameters. Let's talk about expressions. In my sketch, I used a length divided by 2. Fusion can understand many different expressions, common math functions, as well as some like sine, arcsine, logs, powers, square roots, things like that. If you want a complete listing, what you can do is go into help and search for change parameter dialog box or just parameters and look for this topic. And inside it will show you all the different functions that can be used. Now, I want to talk about functions of just a bit here. In this table, you'll see I've entered all the functions that can be used in Fusion 360. I want to talk about entering them. Now, what you want to do, the unit should be what the program expects. So if I put degrees over here, I don't need a unit. But if I put the arc sign, I want it expressed in degrees, so that's what the units match. So the units match the value over here, the calculated value. So if you can put the units over here, you don't need it over there. So for example, if I do the max between 45, it is going to be inches I want to get in my value, so I'll put inch in the value column. This can be a little confusing, so pay close attention to that. You can just pause this video and take a look at this table and study this if you'd like. Now I want to talk about removing parameters. To remove a favorite, just simply hit the minus and they go away. Or you can hit the little star and it'll take it away also. To get rid of a user parameter, just hit the X when you hover over it. I can't do that one because it'll be being used. The last thing I want to talk about is a program that can be added. It's called Import Export Parameters. It's written by Autodesk. It's in the Fusion 360 App Store. Let me go over here. You can see it right there. There is the parameter IO. Search for it in the App Store, and it's free. And what this does, it allows you to import and export parameters between parts. So let's try it out. I'm going to take this model, and by the way, it only imports and exports user parameters. So if I go here and I pick on that function, there it is installed, pick that. To export, I hit no, and I pick up on I've already done it, so I'll just use the same value and replace it, and it exports the values. I go into a new part, and I can import those values. So I hit yes for import, pick on that CVS file, and you'll see it added parameters to this new part. So that's parameters in a nutshell. Hope it helps.